special guest on the video. This is going to be a discussion, uh, interview with a special guest from Canada. Guys, this we're going to hear straight from Nicholas himself, a Canadian living in Moscow. So I'm going to add him to it. Hold up. And it should be working right now. Yes, it does. Hello, Nicholas. And this is, meanwhile, this is now live. So welcome to the
Okay,
stream.
perfect.
I can see that you're a bit, still, the video comes a bit late because of the situation in Russia. Or it actually, I'm watching it from, this is interesting. This is super interesting. So on my stream, you are a little bit slow, but I'm actually watching this from YouTube and it looks perfect. So welcome, Nicholas.
Glad to be here, Igor. Thank you for inviting me.
No problem. So I love to talk to new people. Hold up, I'm gonna actually also do a bigger. Hold up, this way we won't be. Your head won't be too big compared to mine, like this. So all right, we got like an hour that we can discuss and hear more about you, about life in Russia, your background, etc. But this is the first time I talk to you actually, and you. I know that you're a Canadian and you work as a teacher in Moscow. How did it all happen? What's your background? How did you end up in Moscow?
Yes, so it's been quite a fun, interesting, lifelong journey in a way. I guess I've always had a love and appreciation for all things Russia, as well as like Russian and Soviet history, just being obsessed with studying it, music, Russian literature. I have no personal background or connections with Russia or any other adjacent republics. I'm Italian Danish background, but I've essentially had this appreciation for all things Russia for quite a long time. And in terms of moving here, it actually all started during the pandemic in 2021. I always dreamed of visiting Russia on vacation or something longer term. And I kind of just decided, 2021, I'm going to start learning Russian. I'm going to get a TEFL certificate and see what happens.
21. So you started learning Russian in 21.
Yes, correct. It's been, yeah, it's been a fun journey. Like each year since, it seems like I've progressed in my goals in many different ways.
Mm-hmm. If I test you, как твой русский язык, на каком уровне, ты меня понимаешь?
Я могу понимать чуть-чуть по-русски языки. Я еще изучаю каждый день и тоже каждое воскресенье для Московский университет онлайн уроков.
Uh-huh. All right, you passed, man. Pretty
Спасибо
good. That's
большое.
like 3 years. 3 years of studying, but it cannot get better than actually speaking to, in this case, to real Russians in real, real Russia. That's the best way. And
Yes.
so you were, yeah, you were fascinated about the culture, and I noticed you go to theaters. I checked you out on Instagram when we decided to do this. I can see you appreciate the Russian culture. So Moscow and everything Soviet as well. So Moscow is definitely an endless pool of information for your
Yes.
experiences, emotions. But
An
Russia.
endless buffet of all things Soviet, all things Russian.
Yeah. So, all right. So, how did your journey actually happen? So, when you how did that happen, like physically? How and did you, as a Canadian, where did you live in Canada, by the way, if it is not a
So
secret?
I am from Vancouver, so I'm on the west coast of Canada.
Uh huh. That's a long journey. And how did you? How did it happen? Since if you're on the west coast, that means did you go through the which sea is it? Pacific. Did you go
I
through
guess,
to Asia
yeah,
first? Or how?
there were a few options, and I guess if I had gone through the Pacific, the best options would have been something like Mongolia. But Mongolia is super expensive. So for myself, I actually went through Turkey
Hmm.
to reach Russia, which seemed to be the most reliable um, option. Turkish Airlines is fantastic. Or I haven't had any negative experiences with them,
I
so they're
have great
fantastic.
experience with Turkish Airlines as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Uh,
and
and
yeah,
uh, and when was this, by the way? Did you mention that, or because I also tried to write something in the comments to make sure that people that I see some questions, etc. But did you mention when did you move and how did the decision
um,
happen?
yes. So I can take you on a little bit of a chronology of
Yeah,
how it all
please.
happened. So I mentioned in 2021, I started learning Russian. In 2022, I got my TOEFL diploma, and then in December of 2022 and January 2023, I spent a month in Russia just on vacation, getting a feel for things. I was in Moscow as well as St. Petersburg. Um, and when I did that, I went through Turkey as well. Then I went back to Canada, kind of formulating, what's next. And while doing that, I started studying Russian with officially with Moscow State University online. They were offering courses.
Hmm.
Um, then I started applying to jobs, and finally, in May of this year, I landed a position with a commercial school, and through that, I was able to move here because they provided the proper documentation and so
Yeah.
forth.
So you've been now Muscovite since May. That gives you 5 months, and
Yes,
and you
it's
and
all good.
you know being traveling to Russia, even for long term or like many times, it's not comparable with actually living because, for example, let's say you need to go to a doctor as a normal, like as a person who lives in the city. That's a whole different thing than as a technically a tourist, which I am still a kind of a tourist, even though it feels like I'm going back home. But still, it's very different to actually 100% live there. So uh, did you have any, uh, you know, uh, not culture shocks, but surprises in this during this 5 months? Or is Moscow as great as they say, and I say as well?
Uh, it's definitely as great as they say. I would say the biggest shock for me is just how convenient things are in comparing with my life in Canada. Like everything from grocery shopping to the metro um, is just super convenient, and also much more. I can with what I'm making as a teacher, I can manage my finances much more economically as well. I guess the word is purchasing power parity is much stronger here.
Hmm. A little bit going back to the moving experience. So, a lot of foreigners are, one of the things that they're interested in when traveling to Russia is the border experience. And did you have any? How was that? Or did you have because you were actually as well? You had the special documentation, so you were on the good side right away. Was there any wild stories on the border experience traveling to Moscow from Istanbul by plane?
Right. Yeah, no, with that, it's also like a super clean experience and no trouble at all. I was expecting something like, oh,
Hmm.
Canadian, let's double check his documentation, ask him some questions. But it was literally just I hand my passport, he looks at some documents, picks up a phone, chuckles a little bit. Welcome to Russia, sir. Opens up the gate, and like no problems at all. It was super amazing.
And during when you traveled before, was there any in those stories as a tourist? Then was there anything like worth mentioning?
As in terms of airport travel,
Yeah, border crossing in general. You.
yes. In terms of border crossing, also a similar experience. No troubles at all. I think when I came, this was in December 2022 when I entered Russia for the first time. I think a lot of people were just shocked that a Canadian was in Moscow, but also like shocked in a good way, like welcome. I'm glad that you're here and experiencing the country
Yeah.
and that you're not afraid to come here.
Yeah, speaking of that experience now for during the 5 months or previous trips, how people now, not the officials in this case, how normal people treat you, because We're going to talk about the media perception, or where I'm getting at probably. But there's a lot of people think that everything Russian is bad, and if you're a Westerner, you should be scared. You're in danger. It's inhumane there. I'm kind of leading here because I know the answer, but I might be wrong as well. But how was your experience with the Russians? You living in the society, Russian in Moscow in this case.
Yes, I would say not 9 times out of 10, it's a positive experience, and they're like so happy to meet a not just a foreigner but a Westerner who has an appreciation, a positive appreciation for their culture, for their language, and for Moscow as well. Um, and they're always happy when I make an effort to speak Russian as well because it's a
Yeah,
difficult language.
and it opens doors because people treat you not treat you, but Russians are nice people if you're adekvatny, if you're a proper person, I mean, and behave well. But they're reserved in a way that they don't feel comfortable speaking to you if you don't know the language. As soon as you drop the barrier, if you try speaking a little bit Russian, it's not just respect. It's they all probably speak Russian on a level they should not speak to you because they feel
Yeah,
right away like at ease. You know
absolutely.
what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's this phrase I keep hearing, "Открыть душа." They open their souls and they
Yeah.
just go on and they feel comfortable.
Yeah, and this is well, I can fool people of being like 100% Russian when I do my filming in like in a neighborhood or something. Sometimes when I meet a babushka or some local dude, and if there's a like a situation or something that happens, you can easily say something that starts the discussion about something, and the person will actually like speak their mind, even not knowing you and not trying to get to know you, but their people are very open and speaking about dusha, maybe say something really like I don't know, spiritual even. So yeah, that's uh
Yes.
that's a great thing that I love about Russian because, well, I can say, I don't know, do you know my channel? But I'm a Russian person, but I lived all my life elsewhere. I wasn't even born in Russia, but since I found Russia for the first time properly in 2016, I fell in love, probably in a similar way, in a different way, but in a similar ways, like you, through literature and culture. For me, it's like something, I opened the doors into my roots. I don't know. I found myself. So, um, you know, I actually am a foreigner, but it's I forgot is it the word train of thought? I forgot what I was speaking about.
About interacting with Russian natives and the
Yeah,
experience.
yeah. So yeah, for me, it's sometimes for me hard as well because I can, like I said, I can fool my ways, but if you speak longer, you can hear that's I speak Russian properly, but there's something wrong with me. I don't know some words of my. There's a little accent, but the main thing is just to get the Russian person open up. Then you're gonna get far. Like, yeah. All right, guys. I want to remind you that this is a live discussion with Nicholas. Nicholas is from Canada, now living in Moscow, and uh, 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 you guys please leave comments. I will try to get them back. If you want to highlight your comments, you can use super chat. Sorry, but it's true. There's a lot of discussion, and this way they are highlighted. So use that, or just write in the comments and I will try to get to them. Somebody wrote, by the way, I can take this right away and before we continue.
Oh,
Guillaume Leblanc, you studied Russian on online university, he asks. Was That was correct,
correct.
right?
Correct. Well, when I first started, it was all independent until 2023. So 2 years into my Russian learning, I picked up Moscow State online. But initially, I found lots of YouTube channels. Maybe you know Real Russian Club, Daria Malkanova. She has amazing videos about Russian language. So I was using her program and combining that with podcasts, books, and other stuff like that to train myself.
Uh, a question: why Russia? Why
Why
did you?
Russia?
What was the? why it had had such an impact that you actually moved to Russia.
Yes. So I guess this kind of goes back to high school in a way. So it goes a bit back in time.
Hmm.
I was super obsessed with studying Russian and Soviet history, and from there it just kind of exploded into studying not just Soviet history but all of Russian history, all the way back to Kievan Rus, and how different each era is, and all these different figures from Peter the Great, Nicholas II, Zhukov, Gagarin, and it just seemed so mythological and fantastical that I'm just obsessed with it, and I really wanted to visit for a long time. I graduated from high school, went to college, found some work, and then the pandemic happened. So many things got in the way, but finally 2021, I was like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna make it happen.
How did your close ones and family react?
Yes. Well, they were quite aware of my passion,
Hmm.
lifelong passion for Russia. So they definitely understood why I wanted to make it happen. But of course, we're concerned with recent events. Um,
Ah,
but
that's.
they were supportive all the way through for it.
I was listening all the time. Just sorry, I
Yes.
just fixed my
No, of
lights.
course.
I'm there. I'm here. Continue. Yeah.
Yeah, no, with the events that happened, there was obviously some concern, everything on the news, and this not only what had happened recently, just after the pandemic, but there was all this anti-Russia hysteria, even all the way back to like say 2016 with the election. So there is this fresh Russophobia in the West, which is very prevalent. But
Hmm.
in terms of my close ones, they know me quite well, so they understand my passion, and I try my best to educate them about Russia in a way that the media doesn't, and show them those perspectives.
So, do they believe you when they probably ask you, "So, how's life?" And you say probably the same thing that everybody who travels to Russia, lives in Russia, expats, usually people who are in anti-Russian in their core, they don't believe it. They say it's propaganda. What else can they do? That's the only thing. That's the only defense they have. But you probably say all these things, and what's the reaction? Are they like pulled out of the matrix, the Western anti-Russian matrix, or they like straight up tell you that's blink twice if you're like listened by the FSB now?
Well, there's definitely those types as well in
Yeah.
my circle who just don't they can't be altered, or they can't be converted to think of another perspective. Probably you know the film The Interview with Seth Rogen about North Korea,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what they think Russia is as well, and they think it's all like for show or something, and it's not real. And it's just silly because it's here, and so many people know about it, and there's no denying the amazing things about Moscow.
Yeah, but actually, I do understand why they think like I live in the West as well all my life. So unfortunately, I have to hear this BS all the time, and it's so annoying because it's not just it's like straight up lying, straight up like anti-Russian, not government anymore. In some point, it even became like anti-all Russian, and
Oh
so
yeah.
those people who don't have anything else, they haven't seen anything you know, for 10 decades, for example, some even for their whole lives. They've been hearing about this. Even, I listen to some YouTubers, some like freedom of speech YouTubers, not that I'm like, well, anyways, and they usually say, like, this is not Russia. Always compare. It comes out of like, it comes out of their back of their mind, like naturally, to say that this is good and this is not Russia. Why do you mean that? By the way, just it's like normalized to think so. So, in a way, I do understand why they think so because they have no other ways to believe it, and once they see it, they believe it. It must be propaganda, and this is how they keep them, like rats in a cage running in the circle, and they're happy with their lives, believing, not disturbing their, beliefs and the
Yes,
foundation.
absolutely. It's actually hilarious because they're saying this is propaganda, then they're using their own. back of the mind propaganda to combat something that's actually reality. It's really hilarious hypocrisy.
Not want to go too deep into politics, but I gotta
Of
say
course.
that after the events in 2022, I gotta say the Western media, for example, here in Finland, even it has become so anti-Russian, like so obviously propagandish that it's actually funny because they don't even bother using any like creativeness in it. It's so like good, a puppy, bad, a baby shoe, these kind of images, like straight from the book, like first book about propaganda, first page, and this type of stuff. But people buy it because they're like prepared for it, unfortunately. But that's why it's good that you do what you do, baby steps in a way, and the truth is what it is. The camera doesn't lie, that's what they say. And you do, by the way, have a YouTube channel, by the way, right? And
Yes, absolutely.
do you have any like goals in with the YouTube? And guys, you can subscribe to Nicholas' channel. It's in the description. I'm gonna add it also to the comments after the stream, because before the stream the comments doesn't work. Chat comments work, but not comments. Anyways, guys, subscribe also to Nicholas's pages. But do you have any goals with your YouTube channel? Is it just to support your um your I don't know, vlogging anyway? Let us know.
Yeah. So with my YouTube channel, it's essentially I started it to document my journey since 2021 and kind of tell that story, and tell like that perspective of a Westerner's appreciation for Russia and that dream and making it a reality, and kind of trying to translate that positive motivation in a way, and also showcasing amazing things in Russia to a Western audience. I guess specifically to people who don't don't know that these sorts of things exist. Like my recent video, I went out to Pitina metro station, which is such an amazing brand new metro station that just came out last year. Um, and if you've been watching like Western media for the last.
All right, you're back. I missed it disconnected when you were saying that two last year new metro station.
Oh yes,
Plus, I can hear myself from your channel for some reason from your screen.
yes. So I was just saying that if you've been watching Western media for the last couple of years, you should be thinking that Russia is about to collapse and the economy is about to collapse and there's going to be, mayhem. But they're building this amazing infrastructure like Piktina, or they're renovating the BAM railway in Siberia. So there are all these amazing things that people should be paying attention to. All this amazing infrastructure and building, and there's apartment blocks going up all over the place, which is definitely not happening in Canada, which we definitely need. There's a massive housing crisis.
Uh, the audio. Can you can you go offline and come back, because something happened with the vocals audio, so they cannot hear you almost at all.
Okay, absolutely.
So yeah, he was saying that if you believe the certain Western media, that Russian infrastructure is about to collapse, etc., and they actually making huge, like tens of metro stations open up every day and new projects. Try again.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah,
Раз, два,
please
три.
tell us again. So you were saying about the infrastructure for the third time.
Yes,
What were you
it's
saying?
okay. Yeah, so what I was saying is if you're watching mainstream media the last couple of years, you should be thinking that Russia's on the verge of collapse, but it's anything but. The Russian economy is booming. There's infrastructure going up all over the place. They're opening up amazing metro stations like Piktina. They're renovating the BAM railway in Siberia. There's all this infrastructure with Central Asia. New apartment blocks are going up all over the place. It's really an amazing time in Russia, and it's this Russian Renaissance, you could say.
Yep, and there's a whole other issue about saying those who want to say that Moscow is not Russia. etc. But this does happen all across Russia. Sure, in Moscow, probably much faster and much bigger way, but still, you're much closer to the truth than not. By the way, a few questions to Nicholas. Lindsay G says a while ago, I recently completed my TEFL course. Can you recommend companies to approach in Moscow for me to work on English? I know that IT sector is, of course, pretty well, but for those who do not speak English, Russian. But do you know any tips as now that you lived there for 5 months?
Yeah, there's definitely lots of resources out there. For example, I did my TEFL training with the website ITTT, International TEFL Training, and they actually have a job board which they constantly update of companies not only in Moscow but all across Russia who need English teachers. The most popular one that I can recommend is Simply English. They're very big, so I definitely recommend them. There's also Windsor English. That's another company which is fantastic. And there's so many companies. And what you can definitely do, I would recommend, is go on to Google Maps or Yandex Maps and just search English language school, and like 2 dozen will come up, and apply to all of them. Apply to all of them, and you'll get plenty of answers because we are in demand here, big time.
Yep, especially more than ever right now. So it's kind of in a way, easier maybe because it takes a little bit more, guts to go there because some people are fragile to the, information war. Anna
Yes.
Global Travel, she's a teacher also and a YouTuber,
Oh,
by the way, my friend.
perfect.
Nicola, say something, please, in Russian. How is your learning process going on? Can you please
Uh,
do it again?
Ты хочешь меня сказать, чтобы вы по-русски языки? Да, я обычно пью молока, но я предпочитаю водку или виски.
Nice one. Nicholas just said he drinks usually often milk, but
Молока.
he prefers vodka or whiskey. I don't know. Sounds healthy, but I rather vodka than my beer that I've. When I'm in Russia, I drink not too much beer. I mean, too often beer in the streams and stuff. So definitely vodka or whiskey is better. And lately, the cheapest brand that I can find in Russia. By the way, what is the cheap? I know the answer, but I'm gonna give you the platform. What is the cheapest price for a vodka bottle? Let's say half a liter and whiskey. You can also differentiate Russian and non-Russian.
Yes. Oh man, you wouldn't believe it if I told you to the audience. It's like somewhere between 2 or 400 rubles for like a regular bottle,
That's
and that's like
two
in
$2 up to four.
yeah, it's like unbelievable price to me, but it's real.
Yes, but because for us as a foreigners, the price range is very good. But for locals, that's for mid class, that's totally fine as well. That's nothing. But there's a lot of people, and I don't mean like alcoholics. I mean a lot of people who actually watch for few tens of rubles differences and buy the cheaper stuff. And I don't know why, but I usually just buy the cheapest one always, or second cheapest. I don't know. I like to experience, and there's also a thing that Russian products, they used to be not so appreciated because usually that's the cheapest one, and even Russians wanted to buy like Finnish cheese rather than, especially in the St. Petersburg region, not possible anymore. But for example, me, I always prefer Russian. And even though sometimes the quality is not as great, but for me, it's just the experience and I don't know, taste of homeland in a way. That's an
Yeah.
odd. All right, moving on. So, life in Russia. So, what could you say if your mother asks, or somebody from your relatives or friends ask, "What's life in Russia?" Um, how would you describe it, and in a way that you want to describe it? Because you can go and you can start comparing, or just telling as it is, and people can do the comparing in their mind. But
Yeah.
please,
I would say life in Russia and life in Moscow specifically is like super exciting. It's the biggest city in Europe, and there's something happening all the time. I would say you can go out for a walk every single day and find something new like some new wall art, or maybe some musician on the metro, some interesting shop, or some event happening. Like every day, there's something new. You'll never be bored here.
Hmm. But what about now? You're talking about the greatness about it, but what about the very basics of life? Somebody asks, Kevin asks about even the drinking the tap water. Is it safe? And what about hospitals? What about services? And what about the
Yeah.
basics?
In terms of the basics, everything has been super convenient for me. The first thing that I'd love to share is just the grocery delivery service from the company Yandex. So you can have groceries delivered straight to your door for like a low price, like 50 rubles. It's like nothing. It's like half a dollar. And it saves so much time and energy from going to the supermarket. So that's one good example. Another good example is the metro. Back home in Canada, if you go from like one end of the city to the other, the fee increases. But here in Moscow, you can go from one end to the other, and it's the same fee, which is really amazing. And even just like the monthly card for the metro, it's like 10 times as much back in Canada. And same thing with like things like your mobile phone or internet. The price is like just so much more reasonable. And in terms of water, I'm still debating like what the truth is. Like, I still like we buy like the jugs, but I
Yeah.
still use tap water for my ice,
Oh,
and
okay.
it seems to be fine, and that's fine. But I haven't yet tested if I should be drinking it.
Um, we had this. I filmed Anna Global Travels home in outside. What was it? The outer highway. M and I forgot the name. Anyway, they hire the outer highway, which is still Moscow, and she said she can drink water from the tap. But I gotta tell you, in Russia, that's my opinion, and well, that's my information, not opinion. In Russia, you should not drink water from the tap unless if it's like they have a really special, these cleansing
Yeah.
systems. And
Filters.
even then, you should not maybe drink it, but boil it and maybe use it for cooking. But but Anna says vigorously that you can drink. But let's say if it's a general advice for foreigners, you shouldn't unless there's like and at maximum if there's like a cleaning, not the normal regular water for sure. But yeah, the water is really cheap if you buy in big jugs, 5 liters. That's super cheap. I don't know, $1, $1.5, maybe a huge bottle. Like, no. That's like you can get it at cheapest at 40 cents, like a 5 liter bottle. Yeah, 40 cents in
Yes. They're
dollars.
very cheap.
Yeah, but if you buy a small half a liter, it'll be the same 50 cents, 40 cents as well. So you decide and got it. Yes, and the word was MCOD. MCOD. That's the
That's
outer.
right.
Yeah.
MCOD.
All right. What about your home? Is it how's what how, people don't know. Is it like do you have normal rooms? Do you know that type of stuff? How's life in Russia in that way? How
Yeah.
living in Russia in Moscow?
Absolutely. Well, there's definitely lots of new apartment blocks all over the place, new high rises, which are beautiful. But for myself, I'm currently in a Khrushchevka, which is a bit of an old fashioned Soviet style block. But even for that, it's like an amazing kind of flat. We're on the top floor, which is the fifth floor, and there's no lift, unfortunately. So we have a bit of it's not terrible. It's just a small hike, but it's a great flat. So in
How many
Russia,
square meters?
um, you know what? I'm not too sure specifically what the square meter is, but it's a good size for a Khrushchevka. My girlfriend's family also have a Khrushchevka, and it's not as big, and they're all the way in Odensova.
And how much you're renting, right? Or did you buy it already? That would be fast.
So we're paying rent. So my situation is not quite a good example because we are actually renting from a family member, so we got a very good deal. It's 50,000 rubles, and for the
500.
cities, yes. So for the city center, that's a pretty
That's very
unbelievable
good.
price.
Maybe
Because
half
I think,
price almost.
yeah, almost half price. Because similar things in the neighborhood are like 80 or 100,000 rubles.
Hmm. Hold up, let's gonna go through some questions as well.
Yeah, let's do
Evgenia asks, "Сколько Николасу лет? How old are you?" You look
it.
too young, she says.
Yes. So I am currently 28 years old.
And Lindsay G says, "Do you have kettles and toasters in Russia?"
Oh, no, we have to steal them because we don't have appliances. No,
I don't think she meant anything bad
no,
with
no,
them.
of course, but that's a popular
Yeah.
a story. But no, what we have, so we have a tea kettle that we use. I also bought a mocha pod because I love my espresso in the morning.
Are you a
Um,
coffee person or a tea person? You gotta be tea person if you love Russian.
I'm definitely a coffee person, but
Oh,
I do love my tea too.
yeah. And coffee drinking has been getting really popular in the late years. For few, maybe let's say 10 years in Russia, it's been like super popular. You have cafes everywhere on every corner, cafes. Even though Russia is a tea drinking, but you don't find tea, what you
Like
mean
a tea
cafe,
house.
yeah, tea houses. But sure, you can get a tea from any cafes, of course, but still coffee is getting super popular in Russia. By the way, and in Russia, when you buy coffee, for example, in Finland, you got these pots, of, not pots, but you usually got like a lot of tea, and barista coffee is like a separate. It costs you like $5 to $6, maybe even like Starbucks, for example. But in Russia, if the basic coffee, as you know, is usually done by barista, they don't pour it from anything. It's not prepared, so it's only always like labor work that somebody actually does it. And
Yeah, it's like this kind of press sort of system.
yeah, yeah. All right, very interesting. Hold up, and I'm gonna try to get a lot of questions in because it's
Yeah.
always nice to use the live platform for this as much as possible. How did you meet your girlfriend, if it's not a secret?
No,
And
it's definitely a fairy tale I enjoy telling.
please
So
do.
before I jumped into like my Russian ambitions, I had quite an obsession with cosplay, if you know this phenomenon. So doing different characters.
Yes.
One of my characters was you'll laugh, but Professor Snape from Harry Potter. And my girlfriend was also very into Harry Potter, and we actually met on TikTok during the pandemic. And it worked out perfectly because I had just started learning Russian, and we started talking about Russia and how we loved Harry Potter and creative writing, and art and stuff, and it just kind of took off from there. And one of the most important reasons I had visited in 2022 was to unite with her.
All right. So you left that out before.
Yes, it is important. So it's a layer of romance to the story.
So yeah. Do you have? By the way, uh, how different is, by the way, dating a Russian in this case, because there's a huge differences in a way what's sure there's differences between couples and people, but in general, how different is dating a Russian comparing to, let's say, Canada or the West, some Western, because it differs between Western countries as well.
Yes. Well, specifically with my girlfriend, there's not like too stark of a difference because I would say like my generation in Russia is quite like hip to most
Yeah,
things Western. So there isn't too much of a stark difference. But of course, there's like the popular appreciation of flowers and gifts and so forth in Russia, which is kind of true across the board, no matter how old you are. Which
yeah,
it is, of course, a beautiful tradition.
yeah. By the way, I forgot to tell you, ask you about the cosplay. Are you like into Star Wars as well?
Yes, I
I saw
love.
something on Instagram.
Yes, I love Star Wars. Maybe you're familiar with the organization, the 501st
Of
Legion.
course. I gotta. You'll be surprised with something that I'm going to continue. But yeah, please. Yeah. You're a
Yeah,
part of
yeah. So I'm a member of the 501st. I still have active membership.
Vader's
I
Fist.
Yeah, exactly. So Vader's fist is like the Sith Lord part of it. So I do Kylo Ren, which might be apparent.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I officially became a member in 2018. Yeah, and I love working with them. So we do volunteer work
yeah,
primarily with
yeah.
children,
Mhm.
stuff like that.
I'm not part of 501st, but I'm a big Star Wars fan for a few decades. So let's do a digital fist bump.
Yeah, may the
I'm a big,
fourth
big
be with
fan.
you.
Like we're gonna nerd out off camera
Yeah,
someday.
absolutely.
I love. What is your favorite Star Wars? Not trilogy, just Star Wars movie. That will
Ooh,
define our friendship, by the way. Possible friendship.
definitely a hard question, but I will always say Revenge of the Sith, because
Oh my
music.
God, are you serious?
Yes, it might be unpopular in some circles, but it's definitely my favorite from beginning to end. I know Empire Strikes Back is of course like the right choice,
Hey,
but
you
I
cannot
love
you
Sith.
can disrespect my choice because it's my choice. You
Of
cannot
course.
disrespect it in a way. It's like the obvious one. But anyway, the original trilogy is much more for me though. But let's say I started to like the newer ones, which is episode one, two, three, after this new BS with Disney. I really actually I consider those way much more favorably than before because they have the special Star Wars feel that it has totally, in my view, has lost since Disney took over. But I,
Yeah, no,
I,
I would agree. Like it's George Lucas's Star Wars 1 to 6, of course. So I'm
yeah.
definitely there with you.
So let's get back. I can talk to you way
Yeah,
longer about this, but
of course.
I don't think a lot of subscribers. I don't know. Maybe they are interested because it's real talk. So, but all right, we covered a lot of things. But what about you? Also mentioned earlier comparing it with Canada. But what are the things you miss in Canada now in Russia, and what is better in Russia? Eli,
Hmm.
good in Canada that you miss, and vice versa.
I guess in terms of things that I miss, it's more just like personal things. So like my mom and brother, my cat. I have a black cat, Koshka, which I miss. All of my books. I have my library back home. My desktop computer and all my video games. I haven't played Skyrim in since I left, so I definitely miss that. And just like my staples, going to like my favorite bookstore or to the pool, relaxing, going to the park, seeing friends. But in terms of life in general, it's not something that I definitely miss. So coming here is a huge relief in terms of say job opportunities, finding the right apartment at a reasonable price, um, stuff like that. So coming here is definitely a huge relief in terms of living and economically sense.
What about the? By the way, we haven't covered that before. What about safety?
Yes, safety is another big one because in Moscow, like everywhere I've been, I've been all over. I haven't just been in the city center, but it's super safe, especially compared to Vancouver, which had a growing problem with safety and violence and lots of other things like that, which is all part of the same story of Vancouver. It could definitely go on about that for a while, but Moscow is so safe compared to Vancouver.
Mhm.
I would say I could go out late at night, walking around and not feel any danger.
Yeah, I had people who travel to Russia. I offer a lot of help, but I also offer like more detailed help if they want to. Well, as a membership, basically, that's the only way, because I also have a Facebook with thousands of comments daily and connect people ask. So if you need help, you can use my membership, and this way I'm going to connect um, with the person and give her like a lot of information or like map instructions, or but otherwise I have a lot of guide videos. But anyways, this one person from who was planning to go to Russia asked, she was a female from Australia, and she asked that is it where about Moscow and St Petersburg, where should I not go? Is there any unsafe places? And believe it or not, there are none unsafe places officially, like for real. You have, and trust me, YouTube, Facebook, YouTube would be full of them,
Yeah.
full of those stories. But there, just Google, you will find places that are not popular, usually next to some station, or because of not pollution or maybe that type of stuff. But there's no such place that you do not go here under after 12. There's no such places in the biggest cities of Russia
Yeah, I
or
definitely agree.
provincial Russia as well. I went to Semiluki, if you know, which is not far from the Ukrainian border, even 200 kilometers from Kursk, and so it's a little bit further is Ukraine. And we went to a provincial place of my relatives, and there was no lights. Even it's dark, and it's like it's females, girls, women went there all by themselves in darkness because there was no light, and people were fine, little kids. So yeah, you were saying,
Yeah, I think like this whole like the safety thing also kind of goes into like the Russian mindset about like community and being mindful about others and family and so forth. And I think that's a big reason why it is so safe here.
yeah. Kevin says, let's not over put down Canada, Vancouver, very safe as anywhere. Uh, I don't know. I haven't been there, but the stories that I hear about, I guess it depends also on the person, on the little bit. Look,
Yeah, I might be biased because I was there my whole life, so maybe I'm a bit have a biased opinion about the negative aspects of it.
but you know,
Um,
even Scandinavia from Helsinki, where I live at currently, and well, for 30 years now, and the happiest country in the world. But I gotta tell you, even Helsinki, with only 500,000 people, I'm honestly saying it's way safer in Moscow and St Petersburg and anywhere in Russia, because if it's not like it's well, there's a lot of like problems with drugs, and that there's a lot of drug users. And unlike in Russia, these people roam the streets and do basically whatever they want until it gets like way too annoying or dangerous. Then somebody maybe do something. But anyways, these people overpopulate all central places anywhere, all across the city. And it's not uncommon that some person is who acting dangerously might approach you and do something. In Russia,
yes,
place a metro station, you have like, was it 8 million or how many millions? I forgot how many millions use metro stations, for example. All these places are safe, and if there's no no guards walking around all the time in a metro station looking for problematic people, because there are none. They're not, you know. I don't know why. Well, I do know.
yeah, it's definitely a similar story in Vancouver. Like if you walk onto the metro in Vancouver, 7 out of 10 times you're going to find a needle or some crazy guy, screaming.
Yeah,
And I haven't never experienced that so far in Moscow, and I don't expect to.
yeah. So what from city you are? Nicholas is from Vancouver and he lives in Moscow, for those who were
Yes.
wondering it earlier. All right, we have what else did I media. What about yeah, media on Russia? We covered it a little bit. That's my last written question. So we can also get back to that topic. So the media portrays Russia in a very in a hostile way, in a way that they have like a clear um, you know, uh, what's the agenda? I think it seems like it, but
Yes.
the truth is far from, and it's very over politicized in my view. I mean, everything Russia related is always somehow goes to politics. The Western media never covers, I think, people in like Russia in a normal way, because they can, because it's in contradictory with the theme, with the narrative. That's why. And the truth is, sorry, I'm going on a monologue, but truth is that once actually you talk to normal people, they're actually probably one of the greatest nations and people out there. And but that's why they want to make sure you do not connect with the Russians or feel the positivity of Russian people through their press releases. That's what I think. But
Yeah.
how's it in Canada, and how do you feel reading that stories, knowing better?
Yes. It definitely, I would say, it's definitely something that and you need to be tight-lipped about. Just living in Vancouver and Canada more widely. If you question things, suddenly you're siding with like the enemy, and you're
Hmm.
not even just talking about politics, just talking about regular life. Saying no, the Moscow Metro is actually beautiful, and they have amazing art, Tretikovskaya. Um, but suddenly, you're siding with the bad guys. We're 100% good, they're 100% bad, and there's no nuance. There's nothing like that. There's no frank discussion.
Um, I just came to my mind. By the way, what would be for Canadians and other Westerners, especially Canadians? How would you, those who want to experience Russian travel, despite all the warnings from the foreign ministry? How can they travel? What's the best route to travel? One, two options from Canada.
Yeah. So from Canada, I would recommend either Turkey or Serbia seems to be the most reliable. Air Serbia and Turkish Airlines, from what I've seen, seems to be the most reliable routes. You can, if you want, you can try Mongolia or other countries in Central Asia, but then the price is going to get higher.
How much is it approximately to Istanbul or Serbia from?
Yes. If you're looking at like a one-way flight, it's going to be like maybe like 1,000 Canadian around there, which would
That's a
be
lot for this trip, or not? I don't. I
um,
cannot
it's
compare.
I would say to get to Russia, it's like not like terrible, but not great. It's somewhere in the middle.
And so the cheapest way just depends on the fee, meaning the date, right? There's no.
Yes, absolutely. And you can get a round trip as well, which is going to get higher. But plan ahead of time. I always say plan ahead of time, know your dates approximately, because when you do apply for the documentation, they want to know specifically the dates you're entering and the dates you're leaving to for the documents.
What is your opinion about this new decree about getting much easier? Well, not much easier. The super easy way to get the Russian temporary residency permit on the basis of this Russian traditional values, which is like this new hot topic. Has it does it give you any ideas, or what's your thought on this?
Yes, I was actually just having a conversation about this the other day with a friend. It's definitely a positive development in terms of Russia and bringing people here because there's, like I mentioned, there's all this development and all this innovation, and Russia needs more people to come here and to assist with that. So it's definitely positive, and it's positive for people who, like you said, share similar values or who are just interested in Russia, like I am, and who know, fact from fiction about Russia and want to come here and see it for themselves, maybe long term.
But probably the thing that I've discussed with my other YouTube colleagues, the I think it's a good to know actually before making this bigger step, which is also not that definitive step, but still you should actually maybe just like you actually visit Russia, experience for yourself. I'm sure you're gonna love it, but you should, before doing the bigger step, you maybe do this other one. But although this temporary residency permit does include the first phase, which is getting the private personal visa, which is a 3-month visa, which is way better than a normal visa. I think I'm not sure about Canadians. Americans have this half a year visa or 3-month visa or 2 year. They have 2-year visa. That's American thing. But I think Canadians probably have the normal tourist visa for 1 month, and you're able
Yeah,
to get
that
16
that's what
days.
I was on. Unfortunately, 30 days. I was like, oh, just 30 days. Come on.
One choice is to apply if, well, I don't know, can you use the system wrong? I should be quiet actually. Oh, all right. So definitely interesting story. Hope people like it. Please remember to push like to this video, and you can check out Nicholas's YouTube also down in the description. I'm gonna also after this live stream, tag it in the comments. Go say hi and check out. And please also, hey, you must release more videos. You started. When did you start? Recently?
Yeah, so
Sure.
I started when I first moved here, actually. So I'm still fresh, still making new things. I'm actually going to Tula this weekend, so I'll be making some videos about what I see there, like the Kremlin in Tula, which is very fantastic.
What else do you want to see in Russia, by the way? And what have you? Where have you been during these months?
Yes. So in my first trip back in 2022, I was in Moscow as well as St. Petersburg. But since I've moved here, I've only been in Moscow. Just with work, it's hard to getting adjusted and everything. So I think I'm past the break-in period now. I can do some mini excursions. So Tula, I also would love to see Karelia, which just looks so unbelievably beautiful, especially in the wintertime.
Sure. By the way, Moscow, as a fairly Russian person, Moscow or St. Petersburg?
Ooh,
Which one?
it's so hard because each one is so special in its own way. But I guess I am partial to Moscow because just I can't go to Red Square enough. I've been there like maybe 2 dozen times. I can't get enough of it. Like Saint Basil's and the Kremlin and the um the Goom. It's amazing.
I was surprised actually by your answer because you spoke about culture and St. Petersburg. My city, St. Petersburg, is a cultural capital. And
Yes, it's a hard decision because the Winter Palace and the culture and the theater in Saint Petersburg, and Dostoevsky wrote specifically about Petersburg. So it's definitely a hard decision.
and actually, that's the place during I call it my tourist phase from 2017 up to and 18. I lived usually in this, guys. From this live streams and channel Sennaya Square, the infamous Senna Square. But it's only historically infamous and mostly, and that's the place that Dostoevsky wrote about most of the time. All the the dirty market and the thieves and stuff. That's Sennaya, guys. And also not far from that hotel there was like Dostoevsky statue. This is the street, this and that. And I'm not too familiar. I appreciate it, but I'm not like a hardcore literature guy. So I appreciate it, but I actually don't know the details. But yeah, you must visit St. Petersburg and go to those places if you really like Dostoevsky.
Yeah, and also the Rasputin house, his apartment is
Of
also in
course,
St. Petersburg. Very
and the
famous.
place he was murdered. The
Yes,
what's the palace? The family.
Menshikov. Was
No,
it
no,
Menshikov?
no.
No.
The other family, the
Yeah,
Russia's richest family, who were really close to. Oh my God, this is so shameful. Anyways, I'm gonna tell you.
I should know it too. I also
Who?
feel some shame.
I know it, but it's like it came out of my mind. I've been too long here in Finland. I need to get back to my home. Did you find it?
Not yet. Let's see.
Uh, guys, you can write in the comments. Uh, Yusupov.
Yusupov. Yusupov.
In the Yusupov
That's
Palace,
right.
for example, yeah, and you have a separate place about his death there. Yeah, so there's a lots of stories. I had never been there, by the way, or actually have I? I'm not sure. I've been too many places, so and sometimes I mix the places out. But anyway, all right. Hey, well, I'll be in Moscow some point. We should do maybe a live or some kind of a live discussion with a new topic. This is a good foundation, to now our viewers know you more, and we can do something nice in Moscow maybe next time I'm
Yeah,
there. Or if you're at St. Petersburg and I'm there, we can go check out Rasputin.
yeah, that'd be awesome.
Guys, thanks a lot for joining. I'm gonna check out last time some questions because people are interested.
Let's do it.
Um, or the people also talk among themselves, so I'm not sure. Uh, from Canada, one can get more than 1 month visa now. Up to 3 month travel, one is possible. says Kevin James. Thank you. I
Okay.
guess Kevin is from Vancouver, maybe.
Oh, okay. I'm glad that they extended it because 1 month is definitely not enough. You need a little bit more time to see everything.
Yeah, 2 weeks. You know, just along, for example, St Petersburg is great, but it's surrounded by these historical little towns meaning cities, which are, some of them are part of St Petersburg, that whole different cities. New Peterhof, for example, that's a whole different location, whole
Yes.
technically our own city. Kronstadt, the military city, so you can spend a day at those places alone. But St Petersburg, you can spend your whole life there and still find interesting stuff. Moscow, the same thing. It's actually even bigger than St. Petersburg, and it has some other stuff that St. Petersburg doesn't have: the Soviet mites, the Soviet locations, and all that type of stuff. And 2 weeks, even if you're there, the maximum for the 16-day, if you have 1 month tourist visa, that's not enough for sure. That's And of course, if you go to the other cities, that's in Russia, everything is really big, so you have to fly. If you don't fly, you're going to spend a lot of hours in trains, which is a own different experience as well. So I'm definitely agree with you on that. Hey, it's been really nice to talk to you, and this is the first time we met as well, so it was easy, and I'm glad that we connected with the Star Wars theme. I'm not a
Yes.
cosplaying guy, but we can have our own video about that, or just talk maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure
Uh,
we can definitely nerd out about that sometime.
yes. Have a nice trip to Tula, waiting for your vlogs from there. And I guess we're gonna say bye bye now.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me. And I hope to see you in Moscow sometime. We can, like you said, nerd out and collaborate again.
For sure, guys. And if you want more videos with us together live, well, this is live, but like live, physically live, comment down below. And where would you like us to go? Also, Johnny Daly, it's been a long time. Really nice to have you here. Unfortunately, we're stopping this live right now, but Johnny Daly and everybody else, go check out the previous videos from the Voronezh Oblast trip. All right, Nicholas, thank you so much. And we're going to hear from you soon. Take care. How do
Yes.
you say goodbye in Russian?
Пока-пока. Очень приятно.
Всего хорошего. Пока, Николас. И всем.
Пока.
Bye-bye.
Удачи вам.